Marcus Thorne had expected to die among the twisted metal of his salvage runner, the Iron Maiden. The last thing he remembered was the hull breach, the screaming rush of atmosphere into space, the cold touch of the void claiming his consciousness. Yet here he was, breathing. The room around him defied every assumption he'd made about alien architecture. Walls curved in impossible spirals, their surface a living amalgamation of pearl and obsidian that pulsed with soft bioluminescence. The air itself seemed to shimmer, carrying scents of ozone and something floral he couldn't identify. Marcus sat up slowly, expecting the sharp protest of broken ribs or the burn of radiation poisoning. Nothing. His body felt not just healed, but renewed. "You surface from the deep sleep," came a voice like crystalline wind chimes. Marcus turned toward the sound and felt his breath catch. She stood in the chamber's center, tall and willowy, her skin the color of moonlight on water. Her hair cascaded in waves of silver white down to her shoulders, framing a face of elegant angles and features that seemed carved from starlight. But it was her eyes that held him, violet orbs that swirled with depths of ancient wisdom and current curiosity. "I am Seraphine Vexhai," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in his chest. "Healer of the Netherian Collective. Your vessel was ... compromised. You were dying." Marcus swung his legs over the edge of what he now realized was some kind of biobed, its surface warm and yielding. "Where am I? What happened to my ship?" "You are aboard the Whisper of Eternity," Seraphine replied, moving closer with steps that seemed to flow rather than walk. "Your craft suffered catastrophic decompression. The void had already begun claiming your life force when my sensors detected the distress." He examined his hands, his arms, searching for any sign of the trauma he knew he'd suffered. His skin was unmarked, almost radiant with health. "How long was I out?" 7 cycles of the Great Spiral," she said, which Marcus roughly translated. 2, about a week in standard time, the healing required. Extensive intervention. Something in her tone made Marcus look up sharply. Seraphine's ethereal beauty remained unchanged. But there was a new tension in her violet eyes, a weight to her words that suggested complications he didn't yet understand. "What kind of intervention?" he asked carefully. Seraphine paused, her delicate hands clasping together in what Marcus was beginning to recognize as a nervous gesture. "The damage to your cellular structure was beyond conventional medicine. Radiation had corrupted your DNA at the molecular level. Your organs were failing in cascade. To preserve your essence, I had to." She hesitated, searching for words in his primitive language. ... "Share mine with yours." A chill ran down Marcus's spine that had nothing to do with the ship's ambient temperature. Share. What does that mean exactly? Her violet eyes met his directly, and in their depths, he saw something that might have been regret, or perhaps resignation. "It means, Marcus Thorne, of the Salvage Runners, that to save your life, I have bound it to mine. What the Netherians call Zitharod, the resonance bond. Your essence and mine are now intertwined." As if summoned by her words, Marcus felt it. Then a subtle vibration in his bones, a rhythm that wasn't quite his heartbeat but wasn't entirely foreign either. It was her, he realized with growing alarm. He could feel her presence like a warm current beneath his skin. "For how long?" he managed to ask. Seraphine's expression grew solemn, her otherworldly beauty taking on an almost tragic quality. "The bond once formed cannot be undone. We are connected now, your life sustained by mine, your well-being tied to my own." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle between them. "I have saved you, Marcus Thorne, but in doing so, I have claimed you." The ship's central observation deck offered a view of the cosmos that should have taken Marcus's breath away. Nebulae painted the void in shades of purple and gold, while distant stars wheeled in their ancient dance. Instead, he found himself staring at his own reflection in the transparent aluminum, trying to come to terms with what Seraphine had told him. "You're troubled," came her voice from behind him. Marcus didn't turn around. He discovered that the bond made her presence as tangible as gravity, a constant awareness that she was near. "Wouldn't you be?" he replied, his voice rougher than intended. Yesterday, I was a free man making a living pulling salvage from dead ships. Today I'm, what? Your property? He felt a ripple of something through the connection, not quite pain, but a kind of ethereal distress that made his chest tighten. When he finally turned, he saw that Seraphine's normally composed features showed the barest hint of vulnerability. The Netherian word is Velenith, she said quietly. It translates, poorly to your language, perhaps, symbiont. We are bound, yes, but not as owner to possession, more like. She searched for the concept, two instruments playing the same song. Marcus felt a flash of anger and immediately sensed her wince at the emotional feedback. Then, the realization that she experienced his feelings as acutely as he felt hers only fueled his frustration. I didn't ask for this song, he said, pacing to the far side of the observation deck. I didn't ask to be saved if it meant becoming some kind of psychic pet. And I did not ask to violate the most sacred laws of my people, Seraphine replied, her voice taking on an edge he hadn't heard before. The Zithara bond is forbidden between Netherians and lesser species. To form it carries the penalty of exile. The word lesser stung, but Marcus caught the deeper implication. You mean you're stuck with me too? You can't go home? Seraphine moved to stand beside a control console that seemed to respond to her presence, its surface blooming with bioluminescent readouts. I cannot return to the collective, no. The bond marks me as compromised, corrupted by alien influence. They stood in silence for several minutes, the weight of their mutual imprisonment settling between them. Marcus found himself studying her profile, the elegant curve of her neck, the way starlight seemed to gather in her silver hair. Despite everything, despite the violation of his free will and the cosmic injustice of their situation, he couldn't deny that she was the most beautiful being he'd ever encountered. So what happens now? He asked finally. Now we learn to exist as one entity instead of two, Seraphine replied. The bond will stabilize over time, but until then, strong emotions from either of us will cause ... discomfort for both. As if to demonstrate, Marcus let himself feel a surge of resentment, and immediately regretted it, as Seraphine doubled over slightly, one hand pressing to her temple. Fascinating, she whispered through apparent pain. Your emotional spectrum is far more intense than Netherian norms. The resonance is almost overwhelming. Guilt replaced anger in Marcus's emotional palette, and he watched as the tension eased from Seraphine's posture. She straightened, fixing him with those violet eyes. We must find balance, she said, for both our sakes. The bond has made us responsible for each other's well-being in ways your people couldn't imagine. Marcus nodded slowly, beginning to understand the true scope of their predicament. They were trapped together, exiled from their respective worlds, bound by forces neither fully understood. But as he Seraphiniarily looked at her, he found himself wondering if there might be worse fates than being connected to someone so extraordinary. The thought surprised him with its treacherous optimism, and through the bond, he felt an answering flutter of something that might have been hope from her as well. 3 weeks into their reluctant partnership, Marcus discovered that Seraphine had never experienced the simple pleasure of laughter. It happened by accident. He'd been attempting to prepare something resembling food from the ship's biosynthesizer, when the machine produced what could generously be called nutritional sludge. The absurdity of the situation, combined with his growing cabin fever, triggered a burst of genuine amusement. The laughter that erupted from him was rich and unguarded, and through the bond, Seraphine experienced it as a cascade of golden warmth she'd never imagined possible. She appeared in the synthesis bay doorway, her violet eyes wide with wonder. What was that? She breathed, pressing a hand to her chest as if to capture the lingering echo of the sensation. That, Marcus said, wiping tears from his eyes, was me finding the universe ridiculous. Your people don't laugh. Netherians do not experience emotional extremes, she replied, moving closer with that flowing grace he'd grown accustomed to. We exist in states of harmonic equilibrium. What you just shared through our bond was ... chaotic. But also, she struggled for the word ... intoxicating. Marcus set down the failed meal attempt and studied her ethereal features. You mean you've never felt joy? Real, honest joy? Joy implies disorder, unpredictability, Seraphine explained, though. Her tone suggested she was beginning to question this philosophy. The collective teaches that such emotions compromise rational thought. Well, Marcus said with a grin that sent another ripple of warmth through their connection, let me compromise the hell out of your rational thought. Over the following days, Marcus made it his mission to introduce Seraphine to the full spectrum of human experience. He taught her about the satisfaction of creating something beautiful from simple materials, fashioning crude sculptures from the ship's recycling matter. He shared memories of Earth sunsets, summer rain, and the taste of fresh bread, each recollection, flowing through the bond with vivid intensity. But the revelations weren't one-sided. Seraphine began to share aspects of Netherian existence that Marcus found equally foreign and fascinating. She showed him how to perceive the harmonic frequencies that permeated all life, to feel the mathematical poetry underlying the universe's structure. Through her, he experienced the serene contentment of perfect understanding, the elegant satisfaction of a problem solved through pure logic. Your mind is so... turbulent, she observed one evening as they sat in the ship's meditation chamber, her fingers tracing geometric patterns in the air that somehow helped regulate their shared consciousness. Yet within that chaos, there are moments of such clarity it takes my breath away. And your mind is like a perfectly tuned instrument, Marcus replied, feeling the peaceful order of her thoughts washing through their connection. But it's lonely, isn't it? All that perfection without anyone to share it with? Something in his words seemed to strike deep. Seraphine's composure flickered, and through the bond he felt a profound ache he recognized as solitude, the kind of bone-deep loneliness that came from being surrounded by others, but never truly connecting with them. The collective values unity through conformity, she whispered. Individual bonds are seen as... weakness, distraction from the greater harmony. Marcus reached out without thinking, his human hand covering her alien one. The contact sent a jolt through both of them, not painful, but intensely alive. Their bond seemed to strengthen at the physical connection, creating a feedback loop of shared sensation and emotion. Maybe, he said quietly, that's why this happened. Maybe the universe got tired of watching two people be alone and decided to do something about it. Seraphine's violet eyes searched his face, and he could feel her wrestling with concepts that challenged everything she'd been taught. But beneath the intellectual struggle, he sensed something else, growing a warmth that had nothing to do with shared emotions and everything to do with genuine affection. You are very strange, Marcus Thorne, she said. But there was fondness in her voice now, a tenderness that hadn't been there before. Huffine, Vex High, are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, he replied, meaning every word. The admission hung between them, charged with possibility and weighted with the knowledge that whatever was growing between them was as unprecedented as the bond itself. Two species, two worldviews, two hearts learning to beat as one. The attack came without warning, as they always did in the void between that lawless expanse, where no government held sway and survival depended on cunning.
Firepower.
And luck. Marcus was working in the ship's lower maintenance bay when the first impact shook the whisper of eternity. Through the bond, he felt Seraphine's spike of alarm from the bridge, followed immediately by her battlecom as training took over. Corsairs, came her voice through the ship's internal communication system, though he could hear her just as clearly through their connection. 3 vessels, modified assault configuration. They've disabled our main drive. Marcus grabbed the nearest toolkit and started running toward the bridge, the ship's living corridors seeming to shift to help him navigate faster. The pirates had chosen their moment well. They were days from any shipping lane in a region of space where distress calls would go unheard. He burst onto the bridge to find Seraphine's fingers dancing across control surfaces that glowed and pulsed in response to her touch. Her ethereal beauty had transformed into something fierce and focused, her violet eyes reflecting the tactical display surrounding them. "What's our situation?" Marcus asked, sliding into the co-pilot's seat. "Captain Dex Corvin's fleet," she replied, highlighting the approaching ships on the main display. "Reputation for leaving no survivors. They want my ship's biotechnology, and us, dead preferably." Netherian science in the hands of pirates would upset too many power balances. The largest of the 3 pirate vessels was a nightmare of welded armor plates and jury-rigged weapon systems. It looked like it had been assembled from the corpses of a dozen different ship designs, held together by malice and bad intentions. As they watched, it extended boarding claws toward their hull. Seraphine, Marcus said, his mind racing through possibilities. Can you interface directly with your ship's systems? Like become part of them? The neural link is possible, but dangerous, she replied. If the ship is destroyed while I'm connected, ... you die. I get it. Marcus felt her fear through the bond, but also her resignation. But if you don't connect, we're dead anyway. She nodded once, pressing her palms against a panel that seemed to meld with her skin. Her eyes rolled back as the connection engaged, and Marcus felt the disorienting sensation of experiencing the ship's sensory array through their shared consciousness. Suddenly, he could perceive threats from every angle, feel the pirates' weapons charging, sense their ship's positions with mathematical precision. I need you to be my anchor, Seraphine whispered, her voice now seeming to come from the ship itself. Keep me grounded in flesh while I become the machine. The boarding party cut through their hull with military efficiency, but they hadn't counted on facing a ship that had become fully alive under its Netherian pilot's control. Corridors reconfigured themselves into maze-like dead ends. Atmosphere leaked selectively, creating pressure differentials that sent pirates tumbling. Bioluminescent light strobed at frequencies designed to induce disorientation in human nervous systems, but Marcus's role was more crucial than tactical support. As Seraphine merged deeper with the ship's consciousness, he felt her individual identity beginning to dissolve into the vast network of the vessel's systems. Through the bond, he anchored her sense of self, feeding her memories of their shared experiences, reminding her who she was beneath the digital expansion of her awareness. Stay with me, he whispered, his hand pressed against her forehead as her body trembled with the strain of the neural interface. Remember the laughter, remember the touch. Remember that you're more than just harmonics and logic. The battle became a deadly dance between technology and will. Seraphine, enhanced by Marcus's emotional grounding, turned the ship into a weapon unlike anything the pirates had encountered. She vented plasma from the engines in calculated bursts that disabled 2 of their attackers. She used the ship's biosynthesis systems to create corrosive compounds that ate through boarding equipment. Captain Corvin, growing desperate, began targeting the ship's life support systems directly. As atmosphere began bleeding into space, Marcus felt Seraphine's consciousness fracturing under the dual strain of maintaining the neural link and keeping them alive. I'm losing coherence, she gasped through both voice and bond. No, you're not, Marcus replied firmly, pouring every ounce of his determination through their connection. We're not losing anything. We're going to win this, together. In that moment of crisis, their bond achieved something unprecedented: complete synchronization. Marcus's tactical instincts merged with Seraphine's technological mastery. His creativity flowed into her logical framework, while her precision enhanced his intuitive leaps. They became a single entity with 2 bodies, fighting as one consciousness distributed across flesh and machine. The final pirate ship's destruction came not from superior firepower, but from the impossible coordination between pilot and ship that only their unique connection made possible. As the wreckage drifted away into the void, Marcus helped Seraphine disconnect from the neural interface, both of them trembling with exhaustion and the lingering echoes of their perfect unity. That was ... where Seraphine began, then stopped her. Vocabulary inadequate for what they'd experienced. Yeah, Marcus agreed, understanding completely. It was something else entirely. In the aftermath of the battle, as the whisper of eternity limped through space on auxiliary power, Marcus and Seraphine found themselves changed by what they'd experienced. The perfect synchronization they'd achieved during the fight had left them with a deeper understanding of their bond and of each other. Marcus discovered Seraphine in the ship's observation deck, her silhouette framed against a nebula that painted the void in shades of emerald and gold. She stood perfectly still, but through their connection he could feel the storm of emotions she was working to process. The collective would consider what we did an abomination, she said, without turning around.
Right.
Two consciousnesses merged so completely that individual identity became optional. And yet it felt right, Marcus replied. Moving to stand beside her? It's more right than anything I've ever experienced. She turned to face him. He saw that her violet eyes held tears, the first emotional display he'd witnessed from her that didn't flow through their bond first. I have been taught that perfection lies in harmony, in the absence of chaos and contradiction. But when our minds were joined, she paused, searching for words. It was not harmonious. It was explosive, chaotic, beautiful. It was everything the collective fears. Marcus reached out, his human hand finding her alien cheek, thumb brushing away a tear that sparkled like liquid starlight. Maybe that's because your people have forgotten that chaos isn't the opposite of harmony, it's the raw material harmony is made from. The simple touch sent cascades of sensation through both of them, but they'd learned to ride those waves rather than be overwhelmed by them. Their bond had evolved beyond a mere link between life forces. It had become a conduit, for a kind of love neither species had experienced before. I cannot return to the collective, Seraphine said, though her tone held no regret now. And you cannot return to your salvage running. No, Marcus agreed. But maybe we don't need to go back. Maybe we can go forward instead. He gestured toward the star charts displayed on a nearby console. There are unexplored systems out here, places where no one cares about Netherian law or human custom. We could make our own rules. Two exiles against the universe? She asked, but he could feel her growing excitement through their bond. Two people who've learned to be one when it matters, he corrected. I'd say the universe should be worried. Seraphine stepped closer, her otherworldly beauty now familiar but no less breathtaking. The bond will continue to evolve, she warned. We may become something neither human nor Netherian. Something entirely new. Marcus smiled, feeling the rightness of that possibility resonate through every fiber of his being. You know what? I'm looking forward to finding out what that something is. When he kissed her, it was with the knowledge that they were the first of their kind to share such intimacy across species lines. The bond flared between them, not with the chaotic intensity of their early connection, but with something deeper resonance that spoke of partnership, understanding, and a love that transcended the boundaries of biology as they held each other in the soft light of distant stars. Marcus felt complete in a way he'd never imagined possible. His freedom had been traded for something infinitely more valuable, a connection that made him more than he could ever be alone. So he murmured against her silver hair. What do we call ourselves now? We're not really human or Netherian anymore. Seraphine pulled back to look into his eyes, and in her violet gaze he saw their shared future spreading out like an uncharted galaxy full of possibilities. We are the bonded, she said simply. The first of a new kind of existence. Two hearts learning to beat as one, two souls discovering what it means to be complete. The whisper of eternity carried them into the unknown reaches of space. No longer a salvage runner and his alien captor, but partners in the truest sense, bound by forces beyond understanding, sustained by love beyond definition, and ready to face whatever wonders the universe held in store for two hearts that had chosen to become one soul. Their story was just beginning, written in starlight and sealed with the kind of devotion that could bridge any gap, overcome any obstacle, and transform even the vast loneliness of space into a canvas for love.